start recording. Doing a mastermind is a little bit different than just straight instruction. So it's participation. So those of you that can be on the camera and can unmute yourself, that's what this is about, and that's where the growth comes. And so we've done Ignite. We're starting the lead generation 36-12-3. This is more about like being reflective and breaking through your ceiling of achievement. And so in doing that, it's something that we talk about a lot is the 6 personal perspectives. So we have to look at these to move forward in a mastermind and to break through truly. So looking at your mindset, your attitude, and your approach to life, that's going to be the key to hitting through your ceiling. So self-mastery. Are you committed to self-mastery? Understanding the 80-20 principle. Do you understand that 20% of your activities have 80% of your results? Moving from E to B to P. That's what we're really going to be focusing on, is moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful. Because a lot of people get their real estate license because they're entrepreneurial people, right? You have to have some sales spirit inside of you to be able to do that. And yet moving beyond just being entrepreneurial to being professional and purposeful, that's what's going to take your business to the next level. Being learning based, and I don't have to say this to you guys because y'all are the ones showing up to the classes. Learning based is the foundation to know more, and not just knowledge for knowledge's sake, but knowledge for earning's sake. And then having no limiting beliefs, not letting anything set you back, and being accountable, understanding that accountability is going to be the key, and having someone help you with that. So success is built sequentially, and it's one thing at a time. And this is the demonstration. If you guys have read The One Thing, it says you can't knock down the biggest domino without hitting the smallest one first. And in that book, there's a lot of different demonstrations on how they've done studies with dominoes and how something so small can have such a huge impact. And that's what we want to talk about when we're looking at our mastermind. So the one thing you want to look at in this, let me see if I can move you guys so I can read it. There we go. Is, and again, this comes from The One Thing. What is my one thing? So if you see, if we want to go right now, we have to hit our daily goal, hit our weekly, monthly, 1 year, 5 year, and someday. But a lot of people don't think beyond the right now. And that's what we want to do to look at for this month. In the next 3 weeks, we're going to meet together and really dissect and get digging deep into a plan or a GPS to what are we going to follow to create that success for the someday goal. So here's some questions. I want you to write them down. And this is what we're going to be, I want you guys to be thinking about, and this is what you're going to use to create your GPS. Okay. What are your someday goals? What do you want to achieve? We talked about it a lot. And in the Ignite session, setting big goals, right? So you guys that did that, that should be pretty close to the forefront of your mind. But if you have not thought about it, now's the time. What are you going to think about? You think about one day, what do you see? That someday, that one day is going to happen. What are your 5-year goals? What are your 1-year goals in the next 12 months? What are your this year goals? So if you want to have something under contract by the end of this year, what's the last day you can write something in contract? Who knows the date?
Was it like November 15th or something like that?
November 15th.
Okay.
So if we're going to hit our goals, we need to hit them and get them under contract, especially if the goals are transaction based, by November 15th. Okay. Where does your business come from? What has been successful so far? What hasn't worked so well and needs adapting or removing? What is something new that you need to adopt? And this last question, this is what Gary Keller uses to look at the business at large and to look at his personal organization. Is there a model, system, tool, or person lacking in your success? So he says any agent in business or in any business period, you should be able to look at these 4 things. Is it a model you need, a system, a tool, or a person? If any of those 1 out of 4 are lacking, you could be off kilter. So I sent out this GPS for everybody. And this one I really like because sometimes you look at these tools and you're like, where do I start? I really like how this one had some examples on there. For those of you that pulled it up, what were your thoughts around the GPS? I know we've talked about it a little bit. There are different formats of it. What were your thoughts as far as the GPS goes?
It was actually, these examples were spot on for me, because before you sent it out, you wanted us to kind of start thinking about, some things we want to work on, and I pretty much had pretty much all of this. So like email campaigns, so that would be fall under strategy 1. Social media farm area would be 3. So and then I had systems routines, so that's like number 2. So it was actually everything that I was already thinking I needed.
I love it. And the more, I think sometimes in life it's just natural to be like, oh yeah, I'd like to do this. And then you maybe have like a good brainstorm session. This always comes to me when I'm driving. I'm like, oh, all these great ideas. And then you get out of the car, wherever you are, and you go about in your routine that you're already in, and you don't implement any of that.
Right.
So if you create this and you create your plan and then you have it in front of you, that's going to keep you on track. And that's why they call it a GPS. It's goal, priority, and strategy. But GPS is also what? Global positioning system. Your map, right? You're going to pull out your map to see where you're going to go. And we have so many tools at Keller Williams, but honestly, I was in a call recently with Dave Jinks. He's one of the people that helped Gary write Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And he said, KW is a Ferrari and you better learn how to drive it. Same deal with think about your real estate license. It has the capability to give you extreme wealth and, build a big business. But if you don't understand how to write a contract, and if you can't negotiate a contract, and if you can't lead generate to get business, what is that good is that doing you? And that's why we see so much fallout rate with agents that get their license or, have a license, maybe have it active and don't actually accomplish anything with it. It's because it's not the license that gives you power. It's knowing how to use it, right? And that's the same thing with the GPS and us being extremely focused on teaching and educating and training. Is you need to know how to do what it is you want to do. And if you don't know your goals, that's the first place you need to start. So we've already talked about our goals. We need to know and create a plan. So this plan is going to be what we create and implement for the next 90 days. All right. August, September, October, November. Where does 90 days hit us? Right at our deadline, right? We literally, in our leadership huddles in the mornings, when we're talking about, where we are and what's going on, you have to do that every day. You have to do it with yourself. Like Jenny said this week, she said, if you don't have a team, if you don't have people, you're the people. So you're the one that's making this happen for yourself. You're building a business, but that's on your back right now. Repetition is the mother of mastery. So if we want to talk about self-mastery, doing the same thing over and over and over and over, you'll hear people tell you all the time, success is so boring. But that's why it's so important that it attaches to our big why. So another thing I had another slide and I can't, it's not in here. There's another slide, and it's a book called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And let me see if I can pull it up for you guys. As we're looking at breaking through ceilings, this is important to think about. There's a saying in business building, it's I, we, they. And so just like I was just talking about, it's you when you're an individual agent building your business. When you hire somebody on and you're training them and teaching them, it becomes we. And then you can leverage that once they're on their own, it's they, I, we, they. So here's an example of the cash flow quadrant. The cash flow quadrant has a lot to do with where you're looking at right now, right? You have the four corners, and the first one is employee. You have a job, right? There's a lot of us right now that are in between two, right? You have a career and then you're building a business. So some of you are on two sides of this. You're an employee, and then you're also self-employed. You own the job. You employ yourself and you own that. But the next step you're going to do with the help of the model systems and tools in KW is to build a business. You become that business owner. So then you have created the system that works for you. And then the next step naturally is the investorship, whether you're investing in rental property and that is giving you a return, you're investing in other businesses that's giving you a return. This is from the Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. I think is how you say his name. So that's important to look at when you're looking at your someday goals and you envision yourself as a business owner. It's a journey and a process, and you have to create yourself a plan to get to that, to work through the stages and phases. So who else, while we're on the topic, looked at that GPS and had already been creating their plan with it? Tiffany, you mentioned growing your database, doing mail outs. What was your other thing?
Systems, routines.
Lead generation, getting it into a routine to use the systems.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who else? So I forgot, I wanted to read, yesterday Scott Toombs talked in the Bold Facebook group, and he spoke from Shift, part of one of my favorite segments from Shift. So I'm going to read a little bit of that because I was like, man, that's right on what we want to talk about for the Breakthrough Mastermind to kick it off. Okay. So let's see. To survive a shift, you must first make the mental shift to run towards what you want most and avoid temptation of running away from what you most fear. So the discomfort, right? You want to avoid that. Remember that success is never about the chosen few, but always about the few who choose. You get to choose and your life builds from there. Exactly what we're talking about right now. You can't control the market, but you can control your outlook and your response to the market. Remain resolute. Know that while everyone won't succeed in a shift, some will and anyone can. So this, of course, typically is talking about the shift, but know that everybody can succeed as a licensed realtor, but not everybody will, because everybody's not going to be disciplined enough to do the things that need to be done. Let's see. Most people lead a flowed with the tides life. Their career and their fortunes seem to rise and fall with the tides of the market. When things are going well, anything and everything works. Their boats float. What they fail to realize is that literally all boats float in a high tide. No captain gets credit for that. When times get tough and the tide goes out, all of a sudden, not everything works. Their boats don't float. Those will quickly adjust to those who quickly adjust will have a floating boat. On the rocks or out at sea, the choice is yours. So that's exactly what we're looking at. Where we're looking at to the end of the year, that's your choice. What are you going to do to achieve what you want to achieve? And that's why it's so important to have your goals in front of you and know what is your someday goal. What is your 5-year goal? What is your end of the year goal? What do we need to see happen by November 15th to achieve what we want by the end of this year? So back to our questions. As we're looking through this, are you able to see a clear path? Would you say there is a model, system, tool, or person lacking in your achievement? Tiffany, you said system.
Yes. And yeah, I think it's more so like me implementing it and just kind of getting clarity behind those systems.
Well, and putting it into action instead of just thought, that becomes your system. You know, I talk to, for example, we're in conversation with one of the number one agents in our market. And this person just literally works out of her entrepreneurial spirit, which means there are no checklists for, it's fly by the seat of your pants. It's been extreme success, more so than is average, right? Whereas if you look at the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it says about 36 deals where you need to hire somebody else on. This individual did 170. So when you're having this conversation, it doesn't differ from you starting your business, needing to create that system to success versus you already being successful and not having a system. You've got to have yourself organized enough that you can make your success scalable, whether that's at this point growing to capper status, growing beyond capper status, breaking through to the next level of 10 million where you're a mega agent. It's in having a system and constantly refining those and modeling yourself after somebody who's already done it. Hiring on leverage when you get to that point, having that right person alongside of you is going to make all the difference in the world. This last little quote from page 25 of Shift. Know that growth comes from clarity, priorities, and focused action. The first two are how you think, and the last is what you do. So calling this a breakthrough mastermind. Why is mastermind such a, popular word? Mindset.
Yeah.
Mindset is so important.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the mindset that you can achieve your goals, there's no point in even trying. Right? It's be, do, achieve for a reason. Why is it be, do, achieve? Why is the bold law be, do, achieve?
Because it's pretty much starts in the mind to be, do starts with the actions, and then achieve the success.
Yeah, it used to be, do, have. Okay. But that they realized they needed to refine that because it's not necessarily a have. Achievement is not always possession. Mm-hmm. And then it's not linear. It's not just like this post here. It's more cyclical. You can be do, be do, be do, be do, be do. What do you want to be? What is that goal? Is it number one in production in our roster, in our MLS, in this market, in this state? What is it? Well, you have to be and do what a top producer does. What does a top producer do every day? They work on their business, they run their business, and they grow their business. Right? So what are you doing to be that person you want to be? It has to come, just like you said, that routine has to come in sometimes. And then you see your achievement and you're breaking through each level of achievement. Because Tiffany, you've had the best year ever in real estate in the history of you being a realtor.
That's true. That's actually true.
Why?
Yeah, so really tackling on, everything that was offered to me, like through Ignite. And I mean, I was really, compared to when I first started, and I was very passive. I did not attend any trainings, any meetings. But when I started to do those things and just kind of take advantage of what the office offered, and then things just started happening.
You said, you know what, I want to put this license to use. I want to be a realtor. And in order to be a realtor, I'm going to start doing realtor things, which is lead generation, lead follow-up, writing and negotiating contracts, closing deals.
Yep.
All of those things you've done in the past few months, right? So now you're achieving what you set out to do when you got your license. But it's never easy. Success is not easy, but it can be boiled down to very few things. And that's why a GPS is so powerful. I think sometimes we look at that and we're like, oh, I don't need that. I know what I need to do. Yep. Okay. I know how to lose weight and work out. Am I losing weight and working out? No. I have a bag of chocolate in my desk. Those actions did not lead to me losing weight. Same deal. I think we just overthink things sometimes. We put limiting beliefs and we're willing to accept that. So use this GPS, and that's what we're going to do for the next 4 weeks. We're going to meet together. So I want to take this time, and I told you guys it's participation. So let's look at our whiteboard and let's talk through some things that you guys said you would like to see happen for you to meet your goals in the next 90 days. And our next meeting next week, we're going to have somebody come and talk about, and we're going to train on what that is you guys feel like you're lacking, because we really want to refine this. If it's X, Y, and Z you're missing, let's fill that gap. And then the third week, we're going to have a guest speaker join us that's going to be focused on whatever topic it is that us as a mastermind group want to see. And then the fourth week, we're going to look back at on our actions and say, okay, the last 20 something days, going on a month now, this is how I've adjusted my business plan. And this is where I still need to tweak it. And this is going to be what I follow for the next 90 days and commit to. Okay, so let's talk through. Tiffany, you already said systems and routine. Simple enough. Mass mailers or emailers?
Yes. So both of those, I know, like in the GPS it says 8x8, and that was one of the things I want to work on, because I guess the 36 touch is not really there yet.
Yeah. So building the 36 touch would probably be more like what we're looking for.
Yep.
All right, who else? This is how we're going to customize this mastermind to your business.
I think mine's the same, some of the same stuff, but I guess some follow-up stuff I need to work on. A little bit more research also, and mastering the market.
Gotcha. So market data.
Oh yeah, that's
understanding that. Okay.
Yes.
Let me do a little design for you guys. I probably have done it before. So here is the timeline of your business. Okay. We have lead gen, and then we have closing. What's in the middle?
Follow up.
Here's where the gap is for most agents, regardless of your production level. So a lot of people will toy with different lead gen tactics. They're not really going to master one, just going to kind of dabble here and dabble there. And when you get started, you are kind of dabbling, but it takes a level of commitment. And then based on your lead gen that works, if the lead generation works, you have an opportunity to follow up. That's when you need to master your systems and have them in a line that you do every single time. And this is going to create the opportunity to get closer to the closing. Another missing link that a lot of agents miss is putting them back into the bucket of the database. This is why database is so important, is you need to create it. And I loved how Jenny on Tuesday was talking about it, because that was my biggest gap was, database. I never saw it as me creating a curated community and putting my arms around people, because we look at it, I was looking at it like, oh, well, if I'm not selling something to somebody, then I must not need to talk to them. Yeah. She and people like that changed my mind about that, because what they're doing is their mission is to serve the community. So when that's your first thing, and whether that community is your neighborhood or Gerald, your veteran community, right? Whatever that is, you find a way to serve them through the business that's going to empower you to do more business and to find more people that you can help, because it's going to feed this other thing. And when you're coming from contribution, that attracts people to you. So they're going to be wanting to have conversations with you. They're going to be wanting to know what you have to say about the market, Gerald. And they're not market researchers, so you don't have to be afraid that they're going to double check your work, right? Then conversation is the most important part. You definitely don't want to mislead anybody. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that I think sometimes that's another limiting belief we put on ourselves. Oh, well, I'm not the expert in all things market data. I'm not a real estate economist. Well, neither is the person you're talking to. I doubt they're going to fact check you and go, you know what? I pulled it up and there were 2 more closings that you didn't mention to me, Gerald. Instead, they're going to see you as a professional and understand that they can have conversations with you. All right. So I went off on a tangent, but anyway, so that is really, regardless of where you're at, that's for everybody. What are your lead generation habits? That's what we're going to start covering on Mondays and Fridays this month. Diving deep. What does it look like to embrace farming and prospecting? What does it look like to dive deep into internet leads? And then connecting that with your follow-up, which is going to get you to closing. Okay. Who else has something they want to see happen in our next 4 weeks? What will make this a great mastermind, great time that you're thankful for that we're spending together for the next 4 weeks? What can we talk about? I see other people. Vicki, you're here twice. You only get 1 vote on voting items, though. Don't try to sneak in too. Malin, Herman, Deanna, anybody else want to add anything?
Sure. I guess I would just say maybe testimonies in general, since I'm so new and raw. I guess I would just, here's how others have done it. I think that would add to my experience.
So how to get client testimonials, or just hearing more and being exposed to more of what this looks like to be a successful salesperson?
Definitely both. I mean,
Okay.
I'm kind of like,
You're still figuring it out. You're still drinking from the fire hose. Don't worry.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
You'll start processing soon.
Thank you.
Hey, Katie, I think your list here is really good. I remember in one of my coaching sessions with, I can't think of her name, but we talked about the fortune is in the follow-up. So I think honestly, if time is invested, in each one of these areas, I know when Stuart and I, when we've lost the deal, or if a client decided to go with another agent, because it happens, right? Mm-hmm. What we've started doing is going back and asking how we could have served them better, right? Because we know if they decide to go with us, honestly, they'll love us. But just understanding how to better communicate with each client because everyone's needs are different, right? So someone may like text, somebody may like phone calls. So I feel like the list you have here honestly is really good, and just being consistent, in the way that we touch our clients, the way that we, utilize our systems, our routines. Like the list is good. Sometimes less is more. So I don't think we need a longer list. Just really taking in, what everyone has put out here is good.
Okay. So another thing that, with that client feedback and the promise that Jenny was talking about, they talk about in bold, and it's a salesperson that's known for that, is putting that expectation up front. And I think sometimes we as agents, we're almost afraid to ask those questions because we want to seem so like perfect and all together. But that exactly like you're saying, AJ, that's how you're going to grow. Because if you are calling someone, constantly calling, and they're irritated that you're calling them because they prefer text or whatever, you're never going to just know automatically someone likes that. Or, it just is different in having that client feedback to get those client testimonials and put that out there. You're not going to get a good one if you're irritating somebody every time you call them. Okay, so we, on our training schedule already, we have the 36-12-3, which is, it's about those 36 touches and putting together the 36 touch plan for the 12 months that should result in your 3 pieces of business. We're already diving into that, and we're focusing more on the 8 lead gen tactics of that. So if next week we can dive deeper into a overview of what a 36 touch is and how to really implement it with the tools that we have, would that be a good session for you guys for next week?
Yes.
Okay. We can definitely do that. And that's what we'll talk about next week, is how to utilize the 36 touch. I have someone I'm thinking about that could possibly, if their schedule allows, come that 3rd week, that is a master at how they do client service and the 36 touch, growing their database. So I want you guys to make sure, though, if this is something you want to do, you put it on your GPS and make a time for yourself on your calendar, because if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist, to implement and create your own 36 touch. We have some resources. I don't remember if we just emailed them out after a class or put them in the Facebook group, but I will check and I will attach it to the Facebook group today for kind of a rundown of a 36 touch. So you can go ahead and start working on that now. The market data, I'm happy to do a session with you guys to show you kind of how I pull market stats and how we put those out there. That's could be another touch as well. So I'm more than happy to do that. Once you create your touch, it's implementing that, putting it on your calendar, and making sure that, like AJ said, you don't fall through. No one's going to fall through. And these 3 people you have great communication relationship with, they feel the love, but then you get so busy that the other person coming through maybe doesn't get it. And it happens. It's just part of being in the sales business, right? You're interacting with a lot of people. Sometimes we get busy, sometimes we forget. But creating that system is going to be really important and help you leverage using things where it's not just all up in your brain or like a sticky note. And then like 3 months later, you're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot to whatever it is. So do you guys, what's your feedback so far on where the direction of where the mastermind's going?
I think it's going to be great. I'm excited about it. And you touched on a really good thing, implementing it, because I know since like COVID and we've been having all our trainings, I've gotten so many notepads of notes, but it can be overwhelming if you don't like go ahead and do that thing then. So that's going to be the biggest thing for me, is just to go ahead. If we're working on campaigns, go ahead and do that. If it's going to be a Facebook ad, go ahead and put one out. If not, it'll just kind of.
Well, it's, I don't want to say a curse, but it's a beauty and the curse of, Keller Williams, the largest real estate franchise, we have so much, but sometimes it can feel like so much. That's why you need to take what you need, but not just to learn, to implement. They say if you don't implement something within 7 days of learning about it, you're never going to implement it. And then I was on a call this week with my team leader team in our region, and I was told education without implementation is entertainment. And I was like, you're right. Because how many things do we attend and check into, and then we're like, oh, well, blah, blah, you know, I did that 6 months ago. And then you come back and you pull in your notebook and you're like, that was amazing. Why did I do it? So just pick 1 or 2 things, some action items. And that's why the GPS is helpful too. You don't get distracted. If you see something that needs to be tweaked, you change it on your GPS, but you don't just start adding balls to the air and juggling more. It's focused activity that it's knocking this domino down to knock that domino down. Like going back to the PowerPoint, this image right here, right now, leads to daily, weekly, monthly, 1 year, 5 year, and someday. But if you don't start here, you're going to have a jumble mess, and it's not going to be what you hope that it's going to be. Okay, so I trust this was helpful today. I look forward to us meeting next week on the 36 Touch, diving deeper into that. And I appreciate each one of you guys. We will start our Lead Gen 36-12-3 tomorrow. I believe it's at 1 o'clock, and I hope to see you guys there, okay?
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Have a great day.